Well, ladies and gentlemen, what's up and what's going on this beautiful Monday morning? Hopefully you had a great 4th of July weekend, probably got drunk, played with fireworks, burned yourself. Anyway, welcome to Monday. And yes, exciting Monday because remember my magazine came out on Friday, apparently, even though nothing went down regarding the website. So yeah, my astrology magazine is out and it's available at this link here, which talks about career and destiny. So, and again, a big thank you to all of you from my Facebook, Google Plus to YouTube for again making this magazine literally a success within 2 days. So I don't know how else to thank you, but to, keep doing what I'm doing. And obviously today I'm going to start, actually I started yesterday on my next big book, the big book called Planet Through Ascendants at the Speed of Light, which shows you all the planetary placements through all the ascendants. So this way you know what's going on when Saturn is in Sagittarius for Scorpio ascendant. Okay? So anyway, today we are going to be tackling 12th Lord in the 7th house and what happens when the planet that controls your 12th house is sitting in your 7th house. And as always, if you do not know where your 12th Lord is placed, where your other planetary placements are, for that check out the links here and check out my full astrological report, including all my options there, including new options. So what is 12th house? 12th house is a house of isolation. 12th house shows places like monasteries, hospitals, asylums, jails, foreign lands, wandering in foreign lands, wandering in forests. 12th house is a house of the other dimension. That's a place that is isolated from the mundane world, which is the dream world, the world of other dimensional, the world of other alien worlds. Astronauts who go out of space are seen with their prominent 12th house. 12th house is also the house of your expenses. 12th house is the house of, having losses in life. And 12th house also represents kind of working with multinational companies in your own homeland. Because nowadays, a lot of people, instead of wandering in forests, they're working in multinational companies. Like people in India might be working for IBM and Google or Microsoft. That is considered 12th house things. Okay? 12th house is a place where you like to escape to when things go wrong. When things go wrong, when you're so stressed, what do? You go on vacation. You go away from your mundane troubles to kind of let go of all the, depression that you're suffering. So what is 7th house? Because 12th Lord is coming in the 7th house. 7th house is a house of partnerships, business partnerships, relationships, marriage. It shows interacting with other people, doing business with other people. It's the access to the mass world, the masses. Okay, so fame is seen from this. So when 12th Lord goes in the 7th house, usually shows a person who gets their spouse from foreign lands. Somebody who marries somebody from foreign lands, somebody who marries somebody who might be working in a hospital's jail or asylum. Shows that your relationships always somehow take you to the other world, to the other dimension. Or you move to foreign lands in realistic view. Like you marry your husband, he's a software engineer in US, and you move to US with him, and you create a life. Or anytime you get into partnerships with people, they kind of enlighten your spiritual views. Your views about, the other planetary aliens and dimensions and angels and all the weird stuff that you hear about whenever it comes to the spiritual side. You kind of get like this hippie husband or hippie wife who are all about, the tree hugging, all of that wonderful stuff. And what this also shows is that either your spouse will come into your life and decrease your spendings, decrease your expenses, or they will spend a lot. They will increase your losses, as in expenses. They will increase your expenses. You have a spouse who always wants to shop, always wants to invest things that goes into losses. Those are the themes from this, depending upon how well or how bad the placement of that planet is. But mainly though, it shows that your ability to connect spiritually in your life always happens through relationships and spouse and business partnerships. Perhaps your business partner that you do business with is a spiritual person. He takes you to, different monasteries. He takes you to gurus and astrologers and makes you aware of the sixth dimension. Perhaps your spouse or person you got to get into a relationship with are suffering from black magic, are suffering from ghostly things or demonic things. So they make you aware of this other world. Those are the things that you experience in your marriage and in partnerships in general. Now, depending upon what planet is controlling this, may bring isolation or losses or spiritual bliss through those planets. So let's talk about those planets. So let's say if Sun controls your 12th house and Sun goes into the 7th house. What this shows, you get a spouse or a personality in general of somebody who is very spiritual, dreamy, imaginative. You get a spouse who is all about spirituality because of the fact Sun is going to be in Pisces in this case. And Pisces is a very watery sign, very spiritual sign, peaceful sign. It's all about wanting to express your emotions imaginatively. So it shows that you may get a spouse who might actually be an artist. You may get a spouse who might actually be a writer, or a spiritual teacher, a yoga teacher. And yet at the same time, your spouse is the one who helps you develop your personality, who helps you develop your ego, your self-esteem when it comes to all of these things. Perhaps before marriage, you were kind of lost about spirituality and should you even believe in it. But after marriage, your spouse kind of invokes that spirit. And it also shows that your father, because Sun represents your father, he is the significator of father, shows that father must have been who might have introduced you to your spouse in foreign lands. Your father probably does business traveling to foreign lands a lot. And at the same time, your father kind of also must have been a very spiritual person himself, imaginative person himself. And you always felt like, I want somebody with the image of my father as a husband. Or you always wanted to find a spouse or a wife who your father can approve of. Because you knew you want to get that absolute perfect spouse that your father has always taught you to look for. Let's say if Moon controls your 12th house, goes into the 7th house, shows that you get emotionally attached to your spouse who's very scientific in nature, who's all about social welfare and social reform. You get attracted to spouse who emotionally connect to you regarding, helping the poor, regarding scientific information, wanting to kind of embrace the world and help the world, kind of come up at the same level as the other people. Yet at the same time shows that your spouse can also drive you crazy. Your spouse can actually, kind of give you a lot of grief regarding, how your mind is, how you think like, and your spouse will try to change your thinking, change your mind, because as much as this is a great placement for the Moon, Aquarius is still a karmic sign. It's still co-ruled by Rahu and Saturn. So it shows that the relationship really makes you think a lot. Your spouse really wants to take you to the depths of things, wants to take you to situations and places where you probably not have experienced. You suddenly get this shock. Like, whoa, what is this? What am I experiencing? Yet the thing is, you will not want to leave that spouse. You're still looking for that kind of a spouse. So it's become like this tit for tat game. Like, who am I looking for? And when I get them, do I really want them? Yet there's always this emotional connection to the spouse who can be like this mother and nurturing person to you, who can show you the higher, scientific ways, spiritual ways to life. Let's say if Mercury controls your 12th house, Mercury goes in the 7th house. This shows that you get a very communicative spouse who loves to do business, who loves to go to foreign lands and makes deals with people, do business with people. You get a spouse who's very organized, disciplined, and structured when it comes to, how to pursue the subconscious mind, how to pursue spirituality. They kind of compartmentalize everything. They look for reasons for everything. You get a spouse who likes to only believe in the 12th house things if they are proven with a concrete evidence. Because of the fact Mercury is a very curious planet. Yet, Mercury also represents logical and analytical mind. And so here you get a spouse who's very logical about these things, who's very logical about, how much expense you have, how much you're spending. So spouse may actually, this Mercury can actually help you stop your expenses, because you get that spouse who's like very frugal. You get the spouse, hey, let's manage our money, let's manage our budget, and let's not make so much expenses about going here, going there, spending money here and there. So they're very communicative about losses. They're very communicative about, how to manage things with business and life. Yet, at the same time, this spouse can also be very aggressive in their speech regarding what their beliefs are in spirituality. They can be very strongly either here or there. They can say, I hate spirituality, I hate all this nonsense, we gotta be practical about these things. Or you get a spouse who's very strict about these things. No, aliens exist. No, all of these things exist. No, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. And that can also create some problems. You'll be like, dude, be a little bit more balanced, because Mercury, depending upon how it's placed, what sign it's placed in, it can show those extremes of things. Let's say if Venus controls your 12th house, goes into the 7th house. Well, what Venus shows is that you get a spouse who is very worldly. You get a spouse who loves to travel to foreign lands, likes to do business in foreign lands just like Mercury. But you get a spouse who's very artistic, imaginative. You get a spouse who's highly philosophical about the spiritual side of life, who likes to make you experience about spirituality through traveling, because Venus loves to travel. That's one thing about Venus. And especially when Venus rules the 12,000 or 9,000 a person's chart, these people always experience their passion, their bliss, their ability to feel luxury and get conveniences through traveling. And you get a spouse who's very private, who likes to, it's like you want a spouse who's very private, who likes to be secluded. You get a spouse usually who wants to take you to foreign lands. And at the same time, this is a spouse, whether male or female, very feminine in nature. They are all about, discussing things in private, discussing things about the beauty of nature, the beauty of spiritual bliss and spiritual life. Yet most of the time you will find a spouse who is artistic. Even if they're lawyers, they will have some sort of an artisticness in them. Whether they love to play piano, they love to paint, they love to sculpt. But that's how, those are the kind of spouses you get in life. Let's say if Mars controls your 12th house, goes into the 7th house. Well, this spouse is all about making you experience the spiritual side of life through physical activities. You'll get a spouse who likes to be involved in yoga and meditation and Tai Chi and exercise. And for them, hiking to different, isolated places is a way for them to help you experience spirituality. These are the spouses you get who might be working in jails, or who might be, who might went to jail and you kind of met them and you later found out, oh my God, you went to jail for, this many years or this many days. I actually did a horoscope of somebody who I kind of said, hey, I think you must have gotten a spouse who are probably working in hospitals or jails or asylums. And then I later found out that nothing of that sort happened, but their spouse went to jail for a week for like getting into some sort of a fight at a bar. Charges weren't filed, but they still had to spend that time in jail. So that can happen with this Mars, because Mars is a very aggressive planet. Okay, and here Mars really can show that your spouse may spend more money than save, because remember, Mars has soldier mentality. You get a spouse with soldier mentality that there's no tomorrow, it's all today. So we must have fun today, we must spend the money today. And this is where you can get into power struggles with your spouse. You'll get into great arguments with your spouse. That why are you spending money? We have to save for security. They're like, oh no, there's no security in life. You will die tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. So it all depends, what kind of dignity your Mars is in. Otherwise, you will get a spouse who's, wants to spend money on foreign lands, wants to go here, wants to go there. And they're spending money on exercise equipment, or wanting to, spend money on just like electronics and all of these things. Yet, on the good side of Mars, you will get somebody who's very much inclined towards physical activities, and after marriage, your physical activities kind of develop. Because anytime a planet is in 7th house, or 7th lord is somewhere, things related to that planet or that lord will only occur after you get married. And I experienced this in my own life after getting married. After getting married, things just went the positive way in certain areas of my life suddenly. So and when I looked at those areas, they all had to do with the having my 7th house activated. And let's say if Jupiter controls your 12th house, goes into the 7th house, shows that you get a spouse who's kind of like a teacher to you. They're always advising you, counseling you, teaching you, telling you how to do this, how to do that. They're always talking about philosophy, spirituality, and whatnot. They're all about, wanting to teach to the masses. You might actually get a spouse who's a teacher for a living. You might get a spouse who does a lot of research behind the scenes in biology, or, zoology, or marine science. You kind of get a spouse who's very financially savvy. And this is a good spouse, because this spouse will help you understand how to budget your expenses, where to spend, where not to spend. Because Jupiter, as you know, is a karaka of finance. So being the 12th lord in the 7th house, your husband or wife comes from foreign lands, and they kind of show you the way to a better financial life. You moving to foreign lands with this kind of a Jupiter will give you a lot of wealth and ability to save money in foreign lands. But mainly, this Jupiter is all about the 12th house things. You will get a spouse who's very extremely spiritual. This Jupiter does not want to believe in strict religious activities. You'll get a spouse who feels like there is no religion, there is no such thing as, 5 gods, 10 gods. There's only just this one source energy. There's only this one religion that you must follow. So you'll get that kind of a spouse. Okay. But the only way this thing can get a bit frustrating for people, which I have seen, is your spouse just teaches you a lot. When you try to teach them, they might counteract that. They're like, no, this is not how it happens, this is how it happens. Because they feel like they always have to teach you. So it can be a bit frustrating with this Jupiter, but not too much. Because hey, you're getting money to spend, go out shopping, so don't worry about your husband. Let him teach you. You just go out having fun and spend this dough. I would. Let's say if Saturn controls your 12th house, goes into the 7th house. Well, here you'll get a very strict spouse regarding all the activities of the 12th house. Your spouse is very strict about following certain spiritual procedures. Your spouse is all about wanting to find a concrete, strict evidence about the 12th house things. You'll get a spouse who's just simply very dedicated to their work in foreign lands. You'll get a spouse who'll show you the reality of spirituality and reality of life through a completely different lens. It's not all going to be about aliens or this or that. They're going to show you that, look, whatever spiritual things that you believe in. Let me actually show you why that happens. Because remember, Saturn is all about showing you the reality. So this spouse on a good side will show you, do not spend any money. This is what's going to happen. Your spouse will show you that marriage is not all about traveling to foreign lands, experiencing bliss. It's all about dealing with the everyday mundane life. Because that's what Saturn loves. He loves to deal with everyday mundane life. Your spouse might be in a field related to, petroleum, mechanical things, working as a mechanical engineer, or somebody who is doing manual, work, or somebody who kind of like does routine, repetitive work, working in the government, working as a bureaucrat in foreign lands for the government. But this spouse will simply kind of he or she will make you very mature about who you are and what the world is all about. And with this, you'll get everything. You'll get spirituality, you'll get foreign travel, you get the alien information, you get the angels information and ghost information, but at the same time, you're getting information about the real people, real world. You will experience things with your spouse that are very real here. Your spouse will break your ego down. Anytime you want to get a big house, the big car, the fancy things, your spouse will tell you, okay, how much do you have in your account? What are you doing now? What do you do now? So now after you spend all this money, do you think you'll be happy if something happens and you don't have money? So it's a bit frustrating for this person to deal with these things, with this Saturn. But I always advise these people to get married after the age of 33, 34. When you yourself mature and you understand what your spouse is saying. If you were to get married with this Saturn at the age of 22, 23, guarantee you are the most unhappy person. You probably have left your spouse, gotten a divorce, because you don't want to face with that reality. You want to get that blissful, romantic movie-like, marriage, and that's not what marriage is. This is why Saturn is so beautiful in 7th house. Because remember, Saturn has Digbala in 7th house. He has direction strength. So he shows you the right direction of marriage. So with this Saturn, please wait. Because in your horoscope too will tell you to wait. It's not just me, it's just your own Mahadasha or Charadasha will tell you that your marriage will happen after the age of between 28 and 35. Okay? So guys, this was my analysis of 12th Lord in the 7th house. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And again, if you want to know about your horoscope placements, my books, and the new magazines, and the new options, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.